earlier the approach, I think when you graduate, the approach is to be slightly stiffer. In the sense that, okay, I'm qualified, I know my job, and this is how it's going to be done.
Especially if you're from Sydney.
Yes, true.
You are honest enough to confess that. A lot of set people will not confess to it, but we know that's the reality.
Yes, yes.
We got video cassettes given by our clients. Video cassettes in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
કે આ મેં સિરિયલ ટેપ કર્યું છે ને તેમાં મને સ્ટેરકેસ ગમે છે, આ ગમે છે ને આ ગમે છે. એટલે તમે જોઈ લો.
Okay. Actually, I was not aware of this kind of.
Me and my friend used to study all the history needed for that place, and then in the bus while traveling, I used to vomit it out to the students that okay, this is the place you're going to. So they are in awe when they see the place, and they were really in awe because Rajasthan is a beautiful place by itself, and there where small things mattered, we used to tell them, and that is how I learned teaching from Mr. Doshi.
Hello, I'm Ruby Jagrut. Welcome to Samvaad Jaquar. Abir Pothi brings you enriching conversation around art and architecture. In this series, today we are going to talk to very senior prominent practice from Surat, Sarosh Wadia and Azmi Wadia. They have huge experience when it comes to architecture and teaching. They are partner in practice, they are partner in life, and they are partner in crime, which Sarosh has denied just before a few minutes. Welcome to Abir Pothi and Abir Samvaad, and I'm very happy that I'm talking to you people today.
Thank you.
So let's start with Sarosh, because he said I started my career when I was a student. I was also teaching in SAPT. Even before I started my practice, I started working as a student and assisting Mr. Doshi in teaching. So, and Mr. Doshi is, Nidheesh Doshi is a legendary architect. He's no more, but we are here, and architecture is very much here because of him that we can see. He was a pioneer, starting SAPT in Ahmedabad. Can you please share your experience with working with Mr. Doshi?
People talk about Mr. Doshi, the architect.
Yes.
But even greater as a teacher.
Is it?
He was a great teacher, and I joined him as a trainee. And luckily, I was very interested in photography. I used to be the darkroom in charge in my college, in SEPT. So obviously, when Mr. Doshi got a space to display in the Venice Biennale, which he got the largest space, they give running meter area. So Mr. Doshi had the largest area to cover, and he had a lot of projects by then. By the time I had joined him, I was a very young student, 4th year. So, and because of my photography experience, when he was trying to put things across, people noticed me. His consultant photographers noticed me and said, Sarosh is with you, so why don't you put him on the project? So being a trainee, you don't get any value in the office, because the office of that time also, I think 40 people were working with him. So I was the last rung in the chain. 3 trainees, 2 from Chandigarh, 1 from Ahmedabad, and we were the last rung. We were kept away in a mezzanine and tucked away there. So I just suddenly got a call from the reception saying, come down, Mr. Doshi wants to talk to you. So I went down and I asked him that, what is it? So he said, will you like to work on this exhibition? Because somebody from the office has to coordinate it, and we have to put it together in, say, 15 days. So I said, what is the exhibition? So he told me, and I said, sir, you really expect us to do this work in 15 days? Because that time all the printing and shooting, everything was manual. You had to process, and that took time, And my professor in photography was his consultant, and another Dinesh Mehta was also his consultant. And we had to put up the same exhibition was being put up by SEPT also, in the same format. So we were helping there also. All 3 were involved there also. So that time I came to know Doshi very personally. So, how human he was. So I used to work late in the night. Sometimes I used to go back at 12:30. And Doshi used to visit us around 9:30 or so, So he would ask us, you had your dinner? So I said, sir, what dinner? I have to still go back I'll have it later when I go back. So he said, where do you have dinner? So I said, my my mess keeps a covered thali, so I go and eat there. So he said, what time does the mess close? I said, 9:30. So he said, meaning you have cold food at 12 o'clock in the night? I said, yes, every day I do that. So he said, no, today you will order. And why do you go back? You sleep here. We have got a guest house on top. And actually you are all going to work there because there is the largest space which is blank in the office. So you sleep there only. And you order whatever you want and my staff will get it for you. So, I was surprised because I was a trainee, last rung of the office. And I used to work 24 hours because of that only thing which he did made me work. So he also knew where human to human touch was needed. And he was a great teacher. I taught with him. And exchange students from Pennsylvania, there were 2-3 exchange trips. And we used to go to Rajasthan so that we could measure some havelis there or measure the site there, and then they would do the studio there. So I used to assist Doshi in that, to go to Rajasthan. Me and my friend used to study all the history needed for that place, and then in the bus while traveling, we used to vomit it out to the students that, okay, this is the place you're going to. So they are in awe when they see the place. And they were really in awe because Rajasthan is a beautiful place by itself. And there where small things mattered, we used to tell them. And that is how I learned teaching from Mr. Doshi. And then a very funny incident happened. Then all that was put aside. I finished my thesis, and actually we had gone for her to pick up her degree certificate or something like that. And she had to give a no due certificate to the college office. So we were climbing the ramp, and I hear somebody shout, Sarosh. So I turned around to Mr. Doshi. So I walked up to him and I asked him, Suthu, sir. He said, tomorrow you to come and have breakfast at my place. I said, sir, but we are leaving today evening. We just come to pick up some things, and she had to give her no due certificate, so we had just come. No, you stay back.
Cancel
your tickets and stay back. Very good, important things to discuss tomorrow. So I said, I was surprised. So I said, okay, sir, but tell us something. He said, nothing doing, you come have breakfast, then aram se we'll sit and talk.
So you were actually quite concerned because a person like that doesn't say he needs to talk to you,
Such young fellow at the time.
Yeah, and so we were worried, Anyway, we went for breakfast to his house the next morning, and after we sat down, he's got this, round table and things like that. So we sat and he says, I've got a complaint against both of you.
Oh, okay.
So we said, Sudhaya sir, what is the problem? So he says, I'm getting complaints from senior architects in Surat that they want to start a school of architecture, and you two are not cooperating.
Oh.
So
we said, sir, there's, that kind of
atmosphere that you need.
The kind of teaching staff that you require, the dedication that you need, because both of us being from SEPT, we've seen how dedicated our teachers have been. And Surat, 30 years ago, was a very, very commercial city. It is still very commercial, but now you can see that there's a lot of good design. But 30 years ago, it was weird. I mean, there was all kinds of things which were going on, which you didn't really call architecture. So we said, sir, nothing, that dedication, the environment is not there. So he says, but instead of being outside of something and cribbing and complaining about it, get involved and do something good, do something positive. And that is how Sarosh and I both got involved in what is now the SCET College of Architecture, the Faculty of Architecture. So we got involved at that time before, it formalized while the syllabus was being made and things like that. And then we chose to continue to be there. We're still very much a part of SCET, but we never got involved as full-time faculty. Okay. So we are very much a part of it. We both like teaching. I think it keeps us young, it keeps us on our toes. It also improves our relationship with our own children because you're constantly dealing with young people who who are so
I've got ideas which are sometimes wild.
Who are curious, and it's really nice to. I like to find teaching very therapeutic, actually.
Okay.
Right? And it's really nice to. I find teaching very therapeutic, actually. And it's really nice to. I like to find teaching very therapeutic, actually. I like to find teaching very therapeutic, actually. And it's really nice to. I find teaching very therapeutic, actually. I like to find teaching very therapeutic, actually. and studying too, in fact.
Of course. So I think my guru, Tufan Rafai, with whom I've learned natural eyes, used to tell that you have no idea how much I've learned from you. You know, so it is always a win-win and vice versa situation.
Yes.
So along with the teaching, you also build your practice, right? That's what I have understood from your conversation which we had earlier. So how do you balance these two? And does being a professor or a teacher would help you being a practicing architect, or it sometimes not a good thing to have?
No, I think it's a very good balance. It's a very good balance because it gives you a fresh perspective. You know, if you're in practice all the time, I think tendency is also to say, okay, you know, tyan karelu chhe, you know, why don't you just look up that drawing and see how we can modify things. At least in interiors, a lot of that happens, you know. You have templates which are, you know, then modified slightly and they're reused. But when you're constantly with fresh blood, you know, with you there's so many fresh ideas. You have to read up also, right? Meaning you go into class and they have questions. So if you're stuck in your office all the time and you don't update yourself, then you're not going to be able to relate to the younger generation. You know, there's something going on in Pinterest, there's something going on in Instagram, which we are not very conversant with. But at the same time, chalo, we think, okay, chalo, chokro ani વાત કરે છે, તો let us at least see what is influencing them. You know, then you can also give feedback, or you can guide them correctly. Okay, this is something which is flashy, this is glossy, but this maybe doesn't have depth, or you know, or you need to look at it from a different perspective. So I think sometimes yes, it does eat up into our time, but like I said, we enjoy it.
Nice. I have a different perspective on it. That
Yes.
It teaches me all the time where our practice is going.
Okay.
Because most time they want to study our buildings.
Oh, yes.
So then what you practice, you preach.
Yes.
So we realized very early in life, in our first few designs, that our students are going to see it.
Yes. Constantly scrutinized your work.
Yes.
Okay.
So then we can't do mediocre work, we can't do work which, you know, they'll come and say, "Bhai, this is done by somebody," you know, because finally they'll find out who's designed it. So we always have that kind of a take on it also, that our students are going to see it sometimes.
So you rightly mentioned that Pinterest and Instagram and the social media chaos, which is very much reality of this time and age. And there are clients who would come up with the photographs. You know, that's a change I've been noticing and listening. A lot of architects talk about it. So how do you deal with it? Because earlier times architects used to, you know, educate and keep, you know, they used to make aware their clients that this is good for you, this is in your interest, this is in the interest of design. But this time and age, people would come up with the photographs, a building designed in Sweden, building designed in Japan or somewhere, and there's something like that. And you have to also cater to that. You also have to be very, very objectively see that where it is coming from, and also maintain and retain your philosophy and your design sensibilities. So how do you manage that? Because you constantly also, on one hand, you are saying you're working with young generation, so you are also aware of the madness which has started along with the architects, you know, because of the social media. So how do you retain this, and how do you strike a right balance between these two?
So this has been happening not of late, it's been happening from the very initial projects, particularly when it's a residence, because then there's then, you know, your references are TV serials.
Okay.
કે આ serialમાં wardrobe આવું દેખાતું હતું, you know, so then you have to like.
So now we've got video cassettes given by our clients, video cassettes in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
કે આ મેં serial tape કર્યું છે ને, તેમાં મને staircase ગમે છે, આ ગમે છે ને આ ગમે છે. એટલે તમે જોઈ લો.
Okay. Actually, I was not aware of this kind of scenario.
So it's been happening since then.
Okay.
I'm very sure that in the older generation architects also this was happening. You know.
I'm not aware of this video cassette thing, but I'm surely aware of this new age scenario where Pinterest, Instagram,
it's very easy.
and the website and the YouTube are very much part of it. And you were saying that that was happening earlier as
That
well.
was happening, yes, absolutely. So it's something, it's just that the media has changed, but the references that they bring, clients, they do tend to bring references.
Okay.
Now, on the contrary, clients are more aware, so they understand that the context is also important.
Okay.
So, they would not expect you, like you said, something from Sweden. They would understand, okay, Surat na climate ma that this is not appropriate.
Okay.
So they are a little more educated now in that sense, but also they have more exposure, so they will question you more
Okay.
about what you're doing, what your theme is, what your concept is. But you were talking about how do we strike a balance,
Yes.
and I think that's very important. Earlier the approach, I think when you graduate, the approach is to be slightly stiffer. In the sense that, okay, I'm qualified, I know my job, and this is how it's going to be done.
Especially if you're from Sim.
Yes, true.
You are honest enough to confess that. A lot of set people will not confess to it, but we know that's the reality.
Yes, yes. So, and because of that stiffness, we even lost a project. And we did not lose it to an architect, we didn't lose it to an interior designer, we lost it to a model maker. Because there's this law in Surat where you have to leave a margin of say 3 meters from the road, and in that margin we had created a raised garden, and there was this entrance portico, the entrance to the to the house, where we just had a cantilevered slab on top. So when the drawings and all were given to the client's model maker, कि हमने जो छेके के वो देखा से. This was the time before you had 3Ds, before computers.
Models, handmade
Yes, handmade models. So he said, okay, fine, give it to him. So what he did was he put these huge 1 meter diameter columns in that space, which was totally disproportionate and very, very ornamental, which didn't go with the bungalow at all.
And arches on the windows.
So we said, okay, this doesn't go, it doesn't work this way. And then we got into a discussion, an argument, and things like that. And they said, Saro to pachi tamne nahi faave to rewa deo. So we said, okay, we're not going to do something.
So the model maker took liberty to change your design?
Yeah, and the window openings and all, one triangular window, one circular window, and all kinds of windows were there in the model.
Oh, okay.
And the client liked it.
Okay, I liked it.
So we said, okay, we won't
We
do
can't
that.
get
do
a
that, So you rightly said that.
So then coming back to it, this is how we learned. So now we are smarter,
more flexible,
and not that we would still allow something like this, but we've learned to bargain a little bit. So you say, okay, chalo, tumne aa game chhe, so we'll go with a little bit of this, but now in exchange, we feel this will also look better. So we find now, as you mature, you gain experience, you find that it's easier, you can negotiate a little bit. And if they find that you're open to their suggestions, they will also be more open to your suggestions. So
now you know which fight to pick.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so especially in architects, my brother and my family is into construction business, and my husband is an architect. So I've seen the field very closely, and I realized one thing, or what I understand is architects believe that it is their creation. Of course, it's their creation, but there is a use to it, and there is let me be polite. They want to leave the mark on the building that this is my building, my design. It is always said that architects fall in love with their design, and they are very possessive about it. And there is a style to it. There is a mark where we see the building and so it is by Azmi. Do you think you have something like that? You want to leave behind a mark or a style by you are recognized, or you keep the project in center and cater to what it demands and what it has to. There's a purpose to it, and the purpose it has to serve. So what is your take on the style portion of architecture?
I would not say that there's a particular style, and I probably wouldn't want to be recalled for any specific way of projecting my buildings. But I think I would like to be known for somebody who is able to deliver something that is appropriate to the client's requirements, appropriate to the particular context, to that specific climate, and that a person or a user, the owner, whoever is using the building, occupying it, or the space around it, feels comfortable.
So certainly we would like to see that the building is proportionate and we leave a mark in terms of the building gelling with the surroundings, and it is harmonious to look at. So we don't want to create something which is,
out there.
yeah, utopian or some icon or something like that. We are not Taj Mahal creators.
Taj Mahal creators. Okay, so wherever I've been interacting with a lot of architects in the Samvaad series, and everybody has a particular philosophy, or I would say a starting point when it comes to process of design, and especially when it is couple who is studied together, grown together, practiced together for so many years. I don't want to ask what is your process, but how do you start with it, which is in a smart way asking how you do it, and also who is better in what. So there is a space planning, there is service planning, there is aesthetic, there are soft furnishing, there is a lot of things and a lot of areas to be to address. So who is better and what kind of fights you would have otherwise?
Oh, we have lots of fights. Usually the space planning and all is handled to a greater extent by me. Of course, Sarosh has a lot to put in at that point.
To hear that the space planning is done by a lady of the house, a lady of the company.
Yes, and then a lot of the technicalities, the services, that Sarosh is very, very good at. And so very technically sound. So then I don't really dabble too much into that because, of course, if I feel that it's maybe getting in the way, sometimes
It does get into the way, most times. So that is where we have a disagreement, severe one. Sometimes the staff doesn't know which way to take. So they wait for 2 days and then slowly they ask us, now, are we supposed to go ahead with the project or no?
With the project. Okay.
So they know that, eventually what happens is that if we don't come to an agreement, I will say in the office, okay, do what Sir is saying, and Sir will say, do what Ma'am is saying, So then they know, okay, they're stuck, they can't do anything. And then after 2-3 days, they'll again, come up, okay, abhi, su karwano, this issue.
But we had a very, very brilliant assistant architect who used to work on both the features, what she liked and what I liked, and she knew us very well. And she would have 2 alternatives ready next day. Okay, now just agree on one of them. So
yeah, thank God you have somebody like
that. So Sarosh is very, very particular about the building lasting for a long time. Even if the client says, I want to go with something else or whatever, if he feels it's not right for the building, he will just not budge. And I feel sometimes, if they want it, just give it to them. Yeah. It's okay, let's move on. So those are the tussles that we tend to have. And talking about falling in love with your design or your project, that's something that we tell our students right from day one. Don't fall in love with your work because there's nothing. There's always something you can do better. So don't think that this is the ultimate. This is the the final that you're going to do. And I remember in SEP, they used to make us tear up our drawings. We're not that mean. We don't do that. And of course, their drawings are digital, so it doesn't make much of a difference. But when we were students and we were asked to tear up a drawing, it really hurt.
Yeah, I did. So once my guru just tore a painting, which was on a handmade paper.
Right.
And I was not happy with the composition. I keep cribbing that I'm not happy with the composition. I'm not liking it. And he just made, he just tore it in front of me. I'm like, and then he rotated the painting. And I said, why don't you see it like this?
Right.
And it became a new painting. And I'm like, okay, that is why he's a guru and I'm a student, But yeah, that I know that feeling. Yes. I know that it hurts. And I was like so angry with him to start with. What are you doing? Well, I don't like the composition, but it's my painting. You can't just tear it off. But I think I understand when you're saying that how to remain detached from the project is very important. And I think lately, maybe it is the pressure of competition, maybe the pressure of finishing project fast. The templates are being readily available in the office. Templatization of building, that this is for surface area, this is for landscape, and then you will eventually, all the buildings start looking like each other. So I think it is very important that one who's designing the project do that journey every time when he got the project. And that's something which I see in your generation very diligently. I see all the senior architects, they say no, it is always a fresh drawing, a new drawing, it's a new project. It starts with a blank paper. But younger generation, I've seen this, that they are doing 40, 50, 60 projects at one time. So how do they manage to do 60 projects at one time? That's a question I normally ask myself.
It's very simple, it's cut paste.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's so simple for that generation to do, but for us to repeat something which we have done, we think twice. We are charging this client a particular fee for giving something which is exclusive.
Yes.
And then we are actually cheating him by putting something which we've already done.
Yes.
So
there is another thing, like we talk about Instagram, aware clients, aware society. People talk about sustainability, people talk about minimalistic. These are all fancy terms, wabi sabi. People are talking about having a Zen. I feel Bichara, he's become a part of a spa decor.
everywhere.
Nobody is wanting to read about Zen, but everybody, he has become a spa decor.
Yes.
So, all these fancy terms people keep tossing in their conversation, and it may sound very intellectual at times. But what is your take on this minimalistic and sustainability and all these fancy terms which architects usually talk? Because you are a senior people, you have been teaching this young lot which comes up with all those, terminology. So that's why I'm asking you, what is your take on that? And are we really Indian or minimalistic? I don't find Indian to be a minimalistic, In our thali mein 15 vastu hai. We just don't eat a bread loaf and a meat. We eat like 15 things at the same time. So my mother used to tell that the way you, if we tell it in Gujarati, that is how we are from that culture.
Yeah.
So what is your take on minimalistic?
Actually, see, before this whole thing started about green buildings and sustainability and all, I got a subject to teach in 1999 when it was nobody was aware. And it was called energy efficient architecture.
Yes.
It was an elective offer. And there were 2 electives offered to the same batch in 4th year. And the other was product design. And unfortunately, I used to get 75% of the class in mine.
Take for design?
No, 75% with me energy efficient architecture.
Oh, okay.
And it was such a new kind of a topic that I myself had to learn.
Okay.
So that is when I started dealing with sustainable buildings, minimalistic approach. And that is what I found was that, see, whenever these things come up now, it is due to the lack of money and the lack of resource, and which India always lacked.
Yes.
We had palaces, but we had very poor also. The Raja used to always feed 1,000 people a day. That is a common thing. Why? Because he had poor people. So he would get rich. We go and praise Rajasthan palaces or palaces elsewhere in India, but you don't understand the oppression that the Raja would create to get that money out of people. But there people didn't have a choice. Here we have a choice to fight with the government. कि चलो भाई इनकम टैक्स नहीं दिया तो रेड पड़ेगा, उसके बाद 10 साल केस चलेगा, उसके बाद शायद अपन छूट जाए. बराबर है. So that was lacking then. The Raja decided then and then whether you stay alive or go in the jail or what. So it was like that. So nobody evaded anything. And people were poor. And that is why we are minimalistic in our approaches. But whenever there is opulence to be shown, it is also India. That we have palaces now. We have the carving where the payment was done in gold dust, like Delwada, where the artisan was paid by gold dust of the amount of marble powder that he collected.
Yes.
So those are the stories which are real. So that is why I say that these are all phases of design. Minimalistic, you can be minimalistic. But sometimes I find minimalistic is what? That you don't have the resources to make something and then you say कि हाँ अभी minimalistic करना है अपने को क्यों कि मेरे पास मिस्त्री नहीं है मेरे पास artisan नहीं है मैं क्या करूँगा
So
I'll make it minimalistic.
So earlier those houses in the village, the thatched roof and the
Yes.
weepand wala ghar and all that mud houses, they were minimalistic because they had lack of resources. That's
No,
what you're saying.
they were the resources themselves.
Yeah, of course.
So they were very rich in design.
Hmm.
Our minimalistic lacks design.
Oh.
That is the main thing.
Okay.
So that ornamentation was a part of life,
Hmm.
which you could yourself do.
Yes.
A thatch house, the person living in it could repair it. Tell me one bungalow owner who can repair his own bungalow.
No.
So what are you calling a minimalistic? Minimalistic meaning that it is easy to make and it is, but just now if you make minimalistic, you spend the maximum amount.
Yeah.
So is it minimalistic? It is just stylistic, that's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, these are, I think, just terms which are being used because they're used maybe in the West. And unfortunately, we do tend to ape the West a lot, and not just in architecture, in
In all
almost
the fields,
everything,
yeah.
almost everything. So it's not so much about. So it's more about really aping them, and I feel that if you need to have something where you're not. It depends really on what the particular design is.
What are the requirements?
Yeah, so if somewhere you need a little bit more of ornamentation, then do go for that. And if you need to have things clean and clear and all, then that's also fine. But it depends really. I mean, every client is different. Somebody wants a lot of warmth, a lot of neutral colors, a lot of soft furnishing. That's how they feel comfortable. And there's somebody who says, I just want, we had a client very recently. He says, I don't want a single paper to be seen on the table. And I don't want too many drawers because he says, you don't know what's inside those drawers. So that was his approach. So I think, if it's appropriate for that specific design, then go with whatever style, But don't do it because you need to ape a particular style.
Or you want to show somewhere you are minimalistic. Or you are not doing ornamentation. Because everything has its place.
Yes.
So similarly, all these things which are Indian also have their place.
Yes.
You have to just place them rightly.
Yes. So that's where I'm coming to now because as an architect, you first have the brief of a client that this is the user, this is the end user of the product or a project, and accordingly you will design. That is what the role of architect is. So, I've heard one architect saying that would you go to a heart surgeon and instruct him how to do a heart surgery? I said no, but you would instruct architect every 2 days that how to design their house. So, in India, being professional, especially being an architect, is difficult for a man. I heard this from a man. And they said architects keep getting this nudge from a client who is 10th pass, but he's paying, so we keep listening to him. And then for you, Azmi, being a woman, architect, of course, in your time and age, I think before 20-30 years, when you become an architect, must be very few women who would opt for such profession. So how was your journey as a woman architect at that time and age, and then married to an architect and working with equal partner?
Right.
In that time and age, and maybe till today, what is your experience of being a woman architect?
See, that time was really very different. I remember when I came to Surat, there were about five, you can count them on your fingertips, 5 female architects in the city. And I think everybody was trying somehow to blend in because there was a typical, look that an architect had, he wore chappals, he had a jhola, that very specific character. And I know of a few female architects also who kind of molded themselves into that.
Okay.
So just because you needed really to fit in.
For a validation, yeah.
Yeah. And but I don't know, somehow I didn't get into that because I wasn't like that in college either. But when you talk about working at site and things like that, I have been lucky in a sense that a lot of the karigars, a lot of contractors that we have been working with and are still working with are generations old. So Sarosh's family has been in the construction business for 5 generations.
Okay.
right? P.V. Wadia and Sons, which is the mother concern really, was established in 1887.
1887.
Yeah. So the mysteries, the carpenters, the tile laying people, all of these have been working with this family for, this is the third or fourth generation which is working with them. So they respected that I was also qualified and had come into the family. So that the respect was there. But when I started working with mysteries or other contractors who were not familiar with the family, somebody new, and I remember once very early in my career that I was explaining just a simple table, to this mystery. And he says, "Bin rava deo nahi, Sai Babi ne samjha use."
Okay.
So I said, "Na." I said, "After हमने समझी लगे, પછી તમને હજી doubt હોય તો પછી આપણે side में પૂછશું."
Okay.
So then he got it. He says, "No, she's not going to budge." I said, "તમે સાંભળો, like listen to what I'm saying."
Okay.
And then I would make sure that he's not, but I'm not ever very harsh or nasty. And I feel that eventually people will recognize you for what you're, I think you
What
just
you
have
are.
to be a little more patient.
Mhm.
And that's true for anything. It's not just about
Architecture.
working and as an architect. Meaning, it's also true when you're on the board of, say, not a company, but maybe board of studies of an institution. I find very often that men find it very easy to interject when
Yeah.
somebody's talking.
Talking over you.
Yeah, but women don't usually do that. They wait their turn, and sometimes the turn never comes. So you have to learn maybe the hard way, or to push yourself a little more. That you need to be slightly more aggressive. But then again, there's a very fine balance, because if you come across as too aggressive, then that's a problem.
Okay.
So there are these issues, and I think they're in all fields. But yes, architecture definitely more so.
Because I think you're out there, you are on site, you're working with laborers, you're working with a lot of carpenters, you're working with plumbing contractors.
So site was one issue. Going to the corporation was again a completely different issue. Even today, if I'm today maybe not so much so, but say
Today there are at least 10 to 15% girls working in the corporation who are our students or who are from other graduate engineering courses. They are working there.
Okay.
When she came in, no women in the corporation.
Yeah.
So when I would walk in with him, I know that there were these eyes following me constantly.
Who is this lady?
What is she doing here?
Yeah. You don't belong here.
Yeah. But the other point that you made about working in the profession, and basically whether irrespective of the gender of the architect is told really, aam karo, that karo. He's given instructions. See, the difference between other professions and our profession is when you talk about a doctor or a lawyer, it's always that the client is in trouble.
And then go to them.
And therefore they go to the lawyer or they go to the doctor. So it's Haji Ha. They will listen. But when they come to an architect, they are the bosses. They've made the money, they have the land, they have the property. So they're already Rajas. Right?
And they come with that psyche,
Yeah. So therefore then they feel that they can tell you what you should be doing.
So what we do normally is to avoid such things. We listen to him. Listening is a very, very big part of architecture. This also I learned from Mr. Doshi.
Okay.
You have to listen. So we listen to him, and then next time we meet him, we give him a long list. You told us these things, but we think additionally you need all these things. Then he realizes that we are also working on with him, and we are thinking on the same lines.
And you are also talking about the benefit of his project.
So then that exchange becomes very easy. So that when we tell him something, he says, I'll think over it. And next day 100% he'll bring up and say, we'll go ahead with that.
So, that is what I feel architects need to have this empathy towards his clients, especially when in time of Instagram, when he's coming to you with 40 images in the phone. And also, as you rightly said, you have to have patience and listen to him and have that empathy towards him to give him chance to share whatever they want to share. So whenever you're designing a house, it is a see, whoever is making house is a very special thing for them. It's like it's very subjective, very private, and they come to you with a lot of aspiration. So whenever you're designing a house, so other day I was talking, Nidheesh was talking to me, that suddenly the kitchen has become the central part of every game of game, you know. So it is no more a neglected space. The dress area is no more a neglected space. So whenever you are designing the house, what is your take? How you approach? How you see that blank piece of paper, and you know, taking a shape and becoming a home for somebody, and how you two together do that magically, actually, all the time.
I think it begins with understanding the site, first of all, understanding the client's aspirations also.
Climate also plays a very important role in all our designs.
Okay.
So we make a climate conscious decision to do everything, where each room should be, how the wind flow will be there. And we understand that the clients coming to us can afford AC.
Yes.
But we also make him realize, like we have a big veranda to the office, where our staff has lunch. We hardly use it in the house except for occasions. The staff uses it every day, and every day they enjoy over there. So we take out and sometimes have a meeting, and then we say, supposing there is a place like this in the house, would you like to sit there? But it will be non-AC. Because that is a major problem which we had when we tried to show him energy conscious methods and all, you know. That नहीं, अभी तो मेरे को AC का bill देने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. आप क्यों ये सब कर रहे हो? They would ask us only point blank when you tell him how much they are going to save and all that ना. That used to be the reaction. कि मेरे को कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मैं कितना भी bill होगा भर दूँगा. So what do you reply to such plan? So we used to make him aware that this is also a good place to sit, where you sit amongst trees and plants, and then you enjoy the whole place.
So in the process, you are also upgrading the lifestyle, also making them aware and conscious about the environment issues, and also giving him a different experience to live with, you know.
But
it's an open space and enclosed spaces and all.
We had clients where we had to actually go and give a demo of a bathroom, how to use the fittings. You won't believe that, but this is we passed through that stage in 90s with Jaguar fittings only. We had to actually tell him that this is the lever that you use for this is the lever for this, what a health faucet is meant for, because we're the first one to use the health faucet also. You know? And a hand shower is to be used for what, and you don't have to wash your feet in the wash basin. So we have got all kinds of clients. We've got Hindus, we've got Muslims, we've got Christians.
And Parsis.
And Parsis, yeah. Very demanding. Parsis are the most demanding.
Difficult people to work with.
Very difficult. Doctors and Parsis both are very difficult.
Okay. So you being a Parsi architect still would be very difficult for you to deal with Parsi clients?
Yeah, because their expectations are so much more.
Okay, I was understood.
And I think both film particular. We are also a little particular, you know. So that kind of tends to be there.
Since you are also chaired very important position in field of architecture, institution of architects and stuff like that. In so many years, you have witnessed the change. You see now more women are there. They are more confident. They are out there. They are taking care of things, irrespective of their husbands are doing practice or not. They are single women who are doing the practices. You have witnessed all this change. So when you chair such senior position as a woman, what kind of change you wanted to see in the current way the whole thing is functioning? Or maybe none, maybe you wanted to see change, maybe you said everything is happening fine. Or there is something if you would like to change the way these organizations are working. First question. And the second question would be, in architects and doctors, all the professionals who are the classmates eventually become the competitor. So how well, you can function in the organization that everybody is architect and you are working towards a betterment of community, but outside that office everybody is competing with each other. So what is the game like? How do you see that?
I think, yes, competition is there, so if I answer that first. But I think in Surat we're quite content in that sense, people have sufficient work to do. And I've never, it's just maybe very initially, when we started working, that one of our projects was hijacked by a very senior architect. my undercutting fees.
Uh,
And we went and met him also.
oh, you did?
Yes, we went and met him because we said, sir, we are just starting out. And if this is what you do, then, it's not fair. So he said, see, I don't let any project go. If there's a client who walks into my office, I will, even if I have to do it free, I will do it free. I will not let go of a project. But then, see, nobody's going to do anything free, nothing comes for free. So eventually he's going to make his money from somewhere else, and that's where the commissions and the cards and all of that comes in. But I think today things have changed a lot. Even when you look at developers and builders, earlier they had the tag that builder એટલે લૂંટવા જ નહીં કર્યા હોય. But today I don't see that. I think they actually want to give quality work. So I think in Surat, this scenario has changed a lot because of the School of Architecture, which is now 26, 27 years old. And we have a lot of award-winning works and designers in Surat. So things have changed a lot. And I think it's very much for the better.
And since you are closely associated with a lot of young architects, what is your message to young architects?
I think keep doing what you believe in your heart to be correct. And I'd like to quote also my Guruji, who was the director of the School of Architecture when I studied. He was also my design subject teacher. And he said, don't sell your soul for a handful of rice. So I would say that. I said, just be true to what you believe in your heart to be correct. I think you can't go wrong there.
But I would see another facet of the whole thing. When you're growing up, becoming an architect and all that, now you tend to run till the last mile to get a project. So I would, even if it's very easy, even if your own father's bungalow, take experience first. Work with a good practice, not a very large practice. Don't work with an office contractor or a...
Maybe we're just bringing coffee. Indians are bringing coffee.
Yes. So you work with somebody whose office size is comfortable for you to know what is happening. Work for that person for at least 2 years. Even if you are an interior designer, same thing goes. We have a lot of our students ring us up, sir, site par avu thayu છે શું કરું? So because they're lacking that basic knowledge and they're testing themselves out for the first time, so it is better to test yourself out when you're working for somebody.
So you highly recommend that if one architect
everybody works for 2 years.
It is for 2 years.
Yes. So they know, because in college you are in a very protected environment. And you are doing something which is academic, which has a lot of theory in it. Maybe in practice it doesn't work.
And it is very much possible that you are a practicing architect who is also teachers. But 90% case scenario, when teachers are not practicing architects, so they don't know what to impart as knowledge when it comes to the practice part of it.
Or they are very well, they're the highest graded people in the academics, and that's how they get their job. And they never come out in the profession. Like, though the Council of Architecture recommends that at least 30% of your staff should be practicing architects. So that is a very, very necessary thing.
I think that is where the learning happens, right? And it is always the site scenario keep changing. It is never the same. I think that is why when you say that I recommend 2 years of working with an architects, it does help for a young architect to understand the keep changing scenario at different site at different level. And on that note, I want to say thank you so much. You've been amazing, and it was very, very fun, enriching, enlightening conversation. And knowing your journey besides this interview was also very, very delightful. So thank you so much for joining us today at Abir Pothi, Samvaad. And I think we'll keep doing this more often. We'll keep coming to Surat and talk to you again, and maybe some other subjects some other time.
Certainly.
But people will remain the same. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thank you so much.